Alright, good day. Today I'm doing an oil change on the bus. Never done an oil change before, so this will be interesting. So I watched a video for an engine that's very similar to this, and I'm going to go through the steps. Alright, so I'm under the bus. I've had the engine on for 15 minutes to kind of warm up the oil in there, get it moving. Now I've got these things that are meant to catch the oil. There's definitely going to be more oil in there than one of these can handle, so I've got a 5-gallon bucket and I got another one of these. I also know that my engine's really leaky, so who knows how much is actually in there. I also have a little bottle here that I got from Blackstone Labs that they're going to use to analyze the oil. So I have to let a little bit out and then kind of catch it midstream, and that will be the sample that I send off to them to be analyzed. So I'm a little bit lucky. I have this, it looks like instead of something that you have to pull off with a wrench, I have this little lever that lets me open up the oil thing and lets the oil come out. So let's see if we can get this moving. I'm gonna open it up by pulling forward, and there we go. It's kind of cool because I can also stop the oil if I have to. There we go. So we're filling up. Very, very black. Just let it run for a while. And then I'm going to take my little sample canister. There we go. Got a little sample to send off to the lab. Put that aside for now. All right, so it's pretty full right there. I can add a little bit more in a moment if I have to, but let's go to the second one. Right on target. Alright, so now I'm hearing some stuff, hearing some bubbling down there. I think we're getting to the end. Let's catch those last little drops, try not to splatter it everywhere. Oof. Okay, so I got all the old oil out, and then I realized that I ordered the wrong oil filters. So tomorrow I ordered some new ones, and tomorrow I'll be able to pick them up and continue this. But in the meantime, I just stopped doing what I'm doing. So the oil is capped off. All the oil that I got out of there is in jugs and ready to go for disposal. And I got this Blackstone Labs oil test kit that I just filled out all the information for, and I'm going to send that off to be analyzed. It costs $30. If you go to Blackstone Labs, they'll give you a free test kit, and then you can pay online or pay via check or whatever you want to do. Send the sample to them. They have instructions for all of it. BlackstoneLabs.com. So these are all the instructions, and you just drop it in the mail, and we'll see what they can tell me about the engine or the oil in my engine. But the rest of this I'm going to have to do tomorrow. Okay, it is the second day. I was able to get the filters that I needed. So these are the ones that I'm going to be replacing. They're tucked in up there. Of course, because I had to wait a day, decided to rain, so everything is nice and wet, which makes this all the more pleasant. But Gotta move on, get this oil back into the engine. I don't want to leave it without oil for too long. Step one is going to be to cover them in plastic, because when I take them off, they're probably going to leak. So I've got some plastic bags. We'll just do this one at a time. There goes the oil. It's a messy job. Oh, it's heavy. Come on. I got a bucket over here. Just go dump it in the bucket. That'll make a nice burning smell when I start it up again. This is the exhaust. Wonderful. This one does not want to move at all. So I've got a really big screwdriver, and I'm sure you've seen people do this before. You stab it through the thing and use it to twist. I was really hoping I wouldn't have to do this crap, but here we are. And of course it's going to leak everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Got the screwdriver stabbed in. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, we got it moving. That's progress. Oh, it's moving. It's moving. There we go. What a pain. What a pain. All right, so I'm skipping the plastic this time. Just gonna get this thing off and in the bucket. Jesus, it's just making a mess. Ugh. Get in the bucket. Get in the bucket. Ugh. Oh, what a pain in the ass. Jesus. All right, so here and here are where the two filters came off. So I'm going to take my rag and kind of clean them up a bit. Okay, so I have the new filters here. Old filters are in the thing. I'm taking a Sharpie and I'm going to write the date so that I know when these were changed, which today is May 25th, 2020. And maybe put it in a couple of spots. All right, so this is the oil that I got And the guy that showed me, or the video that I watched for how to do an oil change on this bus, put a little bit of oil into his filters before he put them up. So I'm going to do the same, even though I don't think that it's really necessary. I think it's necessary for the fuel filters so that you don't have any air in the system. But for the oil, I don't think it makes much of a difference. Still, I'd rather follow the directions that I know to the T, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. So this is synthetic oil. Go ahead and wipe it down so we can at least tighten it a little better. So I'm doing it hand tight, and then I'll probably use the wrench to give it just a little bit of a nudge over that. Use it both hands. That's pretty tight. So it's pretty much hand tight plus like an eighth of a turn, because I can't seem to tighten it much more than that. And if I can't tighten it much more than that, why push it? So just wipe it down a little bit. And just to cover all the bases, I'm going to take my Sharpie again and go. All right, wrote the date on there a couple of times. I think that is it for the oil. Now I got to move on to the fuel filters. All right, I have this diesel fuel and water separator that's got to go right here. So I'm going to remove this one. Pretty simple, I think. Unscrew the bottom, unscrew the top. Some fuel will probably leak out, and then I got some diesel fuel in that yellow can over there that I will use to fill up the filter as much as possible before I put it back on. All right, well, this one was also very cranky, really difficult to pull out. It's also filthy in there, which makes me think that it wasn't replaced last time I did an oil change. So I'm kind of pissed at the people that did this last. I don't even know what like this blue shit is that's stuck in here. Almost matches the paint. It's like, I don't know what was going on, but this was on there way too tight and is gross. So I'm going to replace it with the other one, and hopefully all will be good. So here's another look at the this is the bottom piece for that filter. It's got gunk all in it. It's pretty gross itself. So this is supposed to be the water separator part, and I think there's a sensor in here to see if there's water in it. So I'm going to clean this out with my rag, stick it on the bottom of here, fill it with some more some diesel fuel, and then screw it on, and try to get the least amount of water as possible in the filter, because we don't want water in our fuel system. Alright, so now it's all, the bottom part's clean, so I'm gonna go ahead and screw it on. I honestly thought this thing was black when I pulled it off. It's orange. So now I'm gonna pour some diesel fuel into the top of this guy and go screw it on. Bit of an update. I finished my oil change yesterday, or so I thought. But today I discovered this O-ring in the box with the filter, and I realized, wait a minute, something's not right, something's missing. And so I carefully removed this filter, made a big mess, of course, and the ring is supposed to go here. So I'm trying to do this one-handed, but right around the inside ring of the bottom cap that is for the water sensor. So I took it apart, obviously, took it off, took it apart, put the ring on, and now I'm going to slide it back on, and then I'll put it back into place. Make sure you don't forget the O-ring. Okay, so I put the O-ring down here back onto the bottom cap, screwed the bottom cap back on. I did it in my vise so I could be as gentle as possible. I didn't want to damage this filter and have to get a new one. And then tightened it on and put the little wire onto the terminal. So that should be good for now. I have to put the date back on there because this was a messy job and it wiped off all of the numbers that I wrote on there. But other than that, success. So yeah, don't forget those little things. Okay, so on the other side of the engine now, we have two more filters down here. Both of those are fuel filters, so I've got to pull those guys off and replace those as well. Okay, I got the big filter off and didn't spill very much diesel fuel, which is good. This one also has to come off, but I'm going to do them one at a time just to keep track of which one goes where. I wiped off the whole area, and now I'm going to fill the other one with diesel fuel and stick it in place. So I'm topping up the new filter with some diesel fuel. So I'm trying to maneuver this guy down into place. It's mostly full of diesel. So it's important to get all the air out of the fuel line once you replace the filters. So part of what I did was fill the filters before I put them on. But there's also this mechanism that I think is used to purge the oil. So right here is the valve. You give that a turn. And you see a little bit of something came out from the pressure. There, take a look. So you can see that's turned. And now right here we've got this little manual pump. And we kind of pump it until fuel starts to come out of it. And that's how we know all the air is out of the line. So we can close this up. Good. Okay, so now comes the fun part. I'm going to check how much oil's in there. Shouldn't be any. Just real quick. Looks like we got just a little bit there on the tip. So, doesn't matter. We are ready to fill it up with the new oil.
Big dipstick.
Yeah. Ooh. I think it's going to take about 5 gallons. But we're just going to put in 3 to start. Okay, so far I have put 6 gallons into the engine. I'm guessing it'll probably actually be 7 gallons. So I'm going to let it mellow a bit and then check the level before I add the last gallon. Alright, I figured that since I'm in the zone, I might as well just do the coolant filter. So my bus is a little bit weird in that it has these valves that you can turn on and off, and I gotta find them. Oh, duh, right here. So this one kind of lets coolant circulate through the system, and so I'm going to shut it off. There's also one inside that I'm going to shut off just to prevent all the coolant from coming out. I still expect that there's going to be a lot of coolant, but this might prevent, the whole system from draining. I have a little tray down there specifically for coolant, so when I release this, it'll leak a lot of coolant in there. I think I'm going to reuse a lot of it as long as it's clean. I don't have much extra right now, but that should be okay. So yeah, I'll go close the other valve. And then I think we are about ready to replace the filter. Actually, you know, while I'm looking at this, it looks like there's a valve here. This may be to shut off the coolant so that I can remove the filter. So I'm going to give this a little twist, just in case that's what it does. Alright. And now I'm going to climb underneath and remove it. Alright, so from underneath, I was able to get enough leverage to get the wrench around it. And let's see if we can take this guy off. Yeah. And look at that. Nothing's really leaking out of it, which is a good sign that that little valve that I hit actually does what I think it does and shuts off the flow of coolant. Alright, so with the old filter off, it's kind of tough to get into this spot, but I'm going to reach up there and give it a wipe. Make it nice and clean before I put the new filter on. Okay. Alright. Here's the new filter. Put the dates on it already. Let's get it up in there. Make it somewhat tight, but not too tight. Right, so back up top, gonna turn the valve back the other way. I actually hear something. Anyway, there we go. And then open this one up to allow coolant into the engine compartment, or into the cab for the heaters. Tell Julene to open up the other one, and then I'm going to check the level in here and add as needed. Alright, so looking into the radiator, I don't know if you can see, it's about, let's say, to here. So I'm going to add what little bit I've got left. It's time to go buy some antifreeze, but that'll top it up, and I think we're going to be good to go for a while. Now I'll go, after this, I'll check one more time on the oil level, and then I think we might need to add just a little bit more, and then we will be done. Alright, so I just wiped the dipstick and then took a look. If you look carefully, I don't know if you can see, but it's a little bit over full, which is not great. So I think I'm going to let it mellow a little bit just to be sure, and then probably empty a little bit of it out. Well, unfortunately for me, I did overfill the oil. Apparently 6 gallons is too much. I think my original estimate of 5 was probably adequate. So I'm going to, luckily I've got a valve down here, makes it nice and easy. I'm just going to open it up and let some of the oil out. That was about 10 seconds, and the oil coming out definitely looks like the new oil, so that's good. So I'll let that mellow for a bit and then test it again, see if we're closer. Alright, looks like we are right at the top of the full line now. Alright, so the last thing is probably the air filter, but I don't think it looks that bad. I don't see a lot of dirt or anything in it, and I also don't have an air filter, so I'm not going to change it. So I'm going to call that good. We replaced, just to recap, we replaced the, down in there you can see the 2 oil filters. We replaced this fuel filter with water separator we replaced the coolant filter, and then on the other side we replaced these two fuel filters. We put dates on them, and I'm going to go into my maintenance logbook that I keep and write down the mileage for this day, so that if I'm ever curious about what the mileage was on the day that I replaced the filters, I'll know. Okay, so this is my Blackstone Labs oil report. It has information about my bus, information about me, and then they have comments where they explain what to make of the results, whether or not it's good or bad news, things I gotta look out for. In my case, they said it's all good news. They even recommended that I run the engine a little bit longer to get a better test. So I'll do that. And then it shows my test results next to averages for my vehicle or my engine, and then universal averages for all vehicles. And then there are multiple columns here for if I do future tests of this vehicle, I can compare my future results with my past results, see if anything is changing. Pretty cool to see if there's anything wrong with my engine or stuff I have to be alarmed about. So I'm happy. So I guess as one final disclaimer, this is the first time I've ever done this on the bus. So as far as I know, I did it right, but we're not entirely, I can't say for sure this is the way to do it. Only time will tell if I blow up the engine. But as far as I know, this is how you do an oil change on a DT466. This is an International 3800 school bus.